Does marketing help or exploit us? The last few weeks I've been thinking about marketing. I am a super novice in this topic and I've become more interested in it just in general and for myself. I've been curious about how brands play on our emotions, our desires, our psychology, to try to nudge us to make certain decisions. I've been thinking about what's behind those decisions, what's the motivation, and whether or not this can kind of help us answer the question whether or not marketing helps or exploits us. I've also been thinking about our role in this equation. We obviously don't always make rational choices. We make choices based on being hungry, tired, happy, stressed. That's why we have things like impulse buying and emotional eating. We also have the feeling of FOMO, buying something because someone else has it. It seems cool and we want to be a part of that experience. But although we are people who make decisions based on emotions often, we are getting more and more aware, not only of that, of our own role in this kind of gray area in marketing, in sales, in consumer decisions, but we're also getting it more informed about how these companies and brands might be trying to influence us. Some examples that you might not be aware of more subtle tactics that companies might employ are like Google, for instance, used, I don't know if I'd call it a tactic. We can say neuromarketing, which is looking specifically into how the brain perceives the world and thinks to try to improve some metric, engagement, sales, clicking. Google, a few years back, looked at the shade of blue of its search results and tried to play with it to see if it would change the engagement, because as maybe a lot of us know, on certain clicks, Google gets paid. When they changed the blue to a certain shade, there was a correlation that year of an increase in revenue of $200 million. That's an example of a company using psychology or the way the brain works to influence our behavior without us knowing about it. Another example is there's a wine store. I can get the name of this and add it somewhere. But there's a wine store that did a study, a neuromarketing study, where they would play different kinds of music and see if it would affect the purchase decisions of customers. They would sometimes play French music, they would sometimes play German music, and they found out that not only did it influence purchase decisions, and I will reference the TED Talk which mentions this to credit them and also in case you want to know more details. Not only did it influence their decisions, but also when asked, most apparently customers said they didn't think the music influenced their decision, which adds to this idea that we can, even when told, we can be in denial or blind to being influenced by these brands, companies. So let's look at a couple of examples of when marketing might actually be benefiting or helping us. Spotify in 2015, after certain attempts from different companies in the 2000s, like Last.fm and Apple Genius Playlists, and another company called Pandora. Those companies tried to do different versions on what Spotify later innovated on in 2015. It's the Discover Weekly playlist. It's this idea that Spotify is going to save you time for looking for new music, and they're going to offer you playlists which give you things that are kind of close to what you like. This is good marketing because it is actually delivering and adding value and also new value to your life. It is not trying to repackage something it already has and sell it by saying something in a different way to make you think differently about it. It actually dug into what its core value is, which is getting people to enjoy music more effortlessly. I won't assume that that's how they have it put on their website or whatever, but something along those lines, let's say, and asked itself, how are we actually delivering on this and how are we not delivering on this? What can we do more? It created something new and then it just told people about it. So the marketing here was kind of like working on themselves, adding something of inherent value and sharing it, saving people time. That's actual value, and also using data to offer them songs. So using techniques and skills some of us might not actually have when we're actually searching for new songs and new music, that it might take us a while to give us the list of things that Spotify might give us. Ikea, as we know, has some of these rooms that it sets up. It designs houses for us. It designs kitchens. It designs bedrooms, living rooms. It puts them in its stores and it puts them in magazines. So when we walk through their stores or when we flip through their brochures or magazines, we are of course being influenced to see these things as aesthetically pleasing and find them beautiful in the way they're organized and fitting together. So that's them using psychology and how the brain works to influence us to like what we're seeing. But also they are saving us time in doing our own interior design research, and they are adding value to our lives beyond saving us time by sharing the skills and knowledge of other talented and experienced professional interior designers and giving us that in the form of something complete, something that can be emulated, and something essentially that you can take and use other furniture and home decorations to emulate what is going on in those brochures and in those places. So it is not like you're paying for these design. And here it's good marketing as well, because they are also looking at something core to them, which is helping people design their homes. They are showcasing it, and it's all without any commitment. And based on that, we as a consumer have a choice to opt in or opt out. And of course, not to kind of just spotlight a couple of brands, we have brands that offer the same kind of value propositions as these more early adopters or early innovators. With Spotify, of course, we have Anghami, and we have YouTube Music nowadays. With the likes of Ikea here in the United Arab Emirates, we have Home Center and Homebox, Pottery Barn. Pottery Barn is more international, but you get what I'm saying. So although these brands might obviously be taking money from people, they are also giving something back. They are being quite transparent about what they're giving back. They're offering things without necessary financial commitment. And in what they're doing, they're adding value and they're working from their core values. Now, if we look at examples of bad or exploitative marketing, we can take, for instance, Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica, 2018, it was discovered, and this is a bit out of my element. I'm not super into politics and stuff, but from what I understood and from what I remember, Cambridge Analytica took data from, I believe, Facebook, I'm not sure if somewhere else, and used it to create targeted marketing, to influence people via their emotions, via fear, via their biases, via misinformation, okay, to influence their voting decisions in the 2016 US elections and also in the Brexit referendum. So this was an example of extremely bad and extremely exploitative marketing because it was being done without people's knowledge or consent. It was manipulative, and it was done with a very malicious agenda, which is to profit and benefit and gain off of the lack and the ignorance, lack of knowledge and ignorance of people, of not just people, millions, I guess, and if not hundreds of millions of people. This one is pretty obvious. There is more personal gain than overall gain. There is lying, there is stealing, and on multiple layers. It's really messed up. Another example is McDonald's kids meals. Since 1979, McDonald's has had its kids meals, and there has been a bit of, or a lot, I'm not really sure how much, but there has been backlash because McDonald's is trying, or was trying, to influence the more impressionable demographic, which is children. It would package these things, these meals, high in fat, high in unhealthy fats rather, sugar, highly processed ingredients. They would try to market those things to kids using kind of unethical methods, like, for example, having toys and things like that in Happy Meals to incentivize kids to get them. Since then, from what my kind of brief research revealed, there has been a certain amount of backlash, and McDonald's has changed, and I can shit on them because it's getting a bad rep right now anyway, so I can just ride that wave. But basically, it changed some of its recipes. It added some healthier options, something along those lines. Don't quote me on this, but and it apparently did a little bit of less marketing. But that is to show that it acknowledges that either it was doing a bad thing, or at least it was influenced enough by the people around it being upset to do something about it. It was manipulative because on some level, at a certain point in time, they knew that what they were selling to kids was bad. There was surely some kind of emergence of data in the world at the time, or since then, that, hey, obesity rates are on the rise. What can we do to do something about it? So there is a bit of manipulation of a more impressionable audience, and there is a knowledge that what's the values here is the profit that we're taking over the value that we're providing the people, the overall value. Because yes, it can be yummy, but also, is that what we want to give? Just yummy things that are maybe harmful. So it's really hard to come to any kind of conclusive answer, partly because there's only so much you can capture in a video by someone who's a novice in this material, in this topic, in this domain. I'm just trying to explore it because I have a curiosity that I'm about to explore, which is, can we apply this kind of learnings that we take from the questions that we've asked to ourselves? How do we market ourselves, and how does it kind of play in the world, socially or on social media? We have things like body image, we have things like social image, we have things like happiness and actualization. These ways of identifying with ourselves and with others are, how would we say, elements that are used on social media, whether consciously, unconsciously, with malicious intent or without. They are used because they are a way of communicating who we are, where we are, how we feel about the world, how we want to feel about the world. So if we take some of the things that we learned about good or helpful marketing, like focusing on a core value that matters to us, like adding value, like what was being done by the likes of Spotify and Rami, YouTube Music, Ikea, Home Center, who are of course companies that want to make money, but also are trying to cultivate their business from core values that actually help people and benefit people. How can we market ourselves in ways that benefit us and benefit those around us with an ethical intent, with transparency? A couple of examples that occurred were like sharing personal achievement. Now, this is not unambiguously positive, because depending on the frequency at which you post these kind of things and the lack of non-personal achievements, you can kind of showcase a certain story about your life that might be a bit distorted. But for sake of argument, let's say you're sharing a personal achievement, like, for example, some kind of achievement that you made with your health and weight, or even not necessarily an achievement, but some kind of healthy personal habit, like working out, exercising, that you might have hit a few new records in what you lift, for example. The motivation for sharing those matters here. Why are you sharing something like that? Are you trying to inspire those around you? Are you trying to inspire yourself for when you come back to your profile and see the active you, or the you that has changed or transformed, to then further propel you to do more interesting, cool, meaningful things in your life? Your motivation matters. Are you trying to share such things because you want to cultivate a supportive community around you? Or if we turn to more exploitative, are you trying to curate a perfect image? Are you trying to show people only the good sides of yourself for a certain selfish aim? Are you trying to get more people to be pleased with you? Are you trying to get more engagement, more likes, more follows, more subscribers? And only that, like, that is your main goal. You're not actually trying to, for example, find more meaning in your life and share it and showcase it. You're trying to do more quick and easy things that continue engagement. Like if you have something that's worked for you successfully, but you've kind of squeezed all the value out of that specific formula or type of video, but you still keep doing it because that's what your followers expect of you, then maybe you are just doing it for the engagement. And it's time to look out into the world, look within, to find something new, to find something from the place from which that first type of video came that's actually resonating with something you want to do, something you want to change, achieve. And for influencers, are they, for example, creating content and marketing it to people? Are they creating content and marketing product to people that they claim they use, and yet they don't actually use it? These two are an example of exploitative self-marketing, telling people you're certain someone, showing people you use certain things to get them to like you, to get them to use what you use, so people will pay you to do that more. It is all about your intention, your motivation. Sometimes it might be a little subtle, and this is more just in general, for people who want to explore this question more, not just necessarily on social media, but even out in social interactions. People like people pleasers. Are you saying something because you think they will like you? Are you saying something because you're afraid of actually saying what's inside, the truth? Because if they don't accept what you say, they might back away. Not necessarily that it's so easy to just go out and say the truth. as an experienced people pleaser myself, I know it's not easy to just say what's in your heart sometimes. At the same time, it's worth asking these questions just to kind of assess where are you at really, and see if the moment you're in, the moment you're socializing with someone, the moment you catch yourself people pleasing, then maybe you have an opportunity to make a decision that you don't routinely make, that you don't need to market yourself as someone who is unblinkingly supportive, as in affirming. Rather, you can market yourself as something you truly believe in, for example, which might involve you politely disagreeing with something someone is saying at the cost of them being insulted. Brands and people, and the people part, I am talking a bit to myself as well, need to look at themselves every once in a while and really try to connect with what they're doing and why. If their goals are more selfish than they are giving value to people, if they're taking, if they're manipulating, if they're lying for their selfish purposes, ultimately they will cause harm to themselves by way of changing their own values, by way of their image, by way of damaging their relationships with people around them, customers, even their staff. People can and brands can both exploit and help us, and we can be part of that, helping or exploiting. Maybe the best thing we can do is focus on the good that we're giving and allow ourselves to be self-aware for when we might be trying to hide a part of ourselves or trying to promote a false part of ourselves.